may take a look.
You all right there?
You do.
Fine. Thank you. Let's speed there.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Siouxsie Sioux and Steve Severin interview. Siouxsie and the Banshees, July 13th. Siouxsie, you and Steve have been the nucleus of the group since 1976, but there have been a lot of changes in between. Most recently, the departure of guitarist Robert Smith. Why did Robert leave?
He was a guitarist.
Guitarist. Did I not say guitarist?
We seem to turn over a lot of guitarists more than anyone. And the fact is Robert's retired from music, full stop. But when that full stop is opened up again, I don't know.
Are there any hard feelings about him?
No?
No, not at all.
Who's replaced him?
A guy, John Valentine Carruthers from Clock DVA, is a Sheffield band. And he's working out really well.
You've said before that you've never been too crazy about touring. Why is that?
I like playing live, but I don't like touring when it becomes a routine. And that's why we're in a group, is because we don't like routine. So to keep it fresh and not get stale and not know what town you're in, we like to make them events so over a few weeks rather than months. 10 months out of a year isn't fun to me.
Mm-hmm. So how's this tour been going for you?
Good.
Yeah, fine.
How this is not really a long tour. You want to tell us a little about it?
Well, it's been, we did 2 weeks in England and had about a week off, and then we've done 2 weeks here, which is, it's probably too short, but it's better that we're still...
It's better you're hungry than just full up and ready to pop.
Right. On the new album, Hyena, you cover the Beatles' Dear Prudence. You once covered another Beatles song, Helter Skelter. That seems a little unusual, since Siouxsie and the Banshees were always associated with punk, that you choose to cover Beatles material, which is pop. Why is this?
I don't think the Beatles in the 60s was necessarily pop, like the White Album or Strawberry Fields. I suppose the Charlie Manson initiation to the Beatles helped.
Was there any particular thing that attracted you to Dear Prudence as a song, as opposed to some of the other up-tempo Beatles songs?
Basically, it sounded as though it wasn't quite finished on the White Album, as if there was a lot of room for an interpretation that would make it into a different kind of song. And it's pretty.
Well,
There's a pretty side to the Banshees as well.
You chose Venice as a location to shoot the Dear Prudence video. Why was that?
We were there.
We were on our way to Israel, so we decided, we were playing in Italy, and then we had to fly to Israel to do some concerts, so we decided to stop off in Venice.
We've never been there before either, so...
And it's pretty tricky trying to play in Venice, because the place sinks every time you take any equipment on it.
What sinks?
Well, it's not possible to play there because, every time anyone would play, I mean, it's sinking all the time. So they're just not going to allow groups with trucks and equipment to pummel it down further.
Tim Pope directed Dear Prudence. He's directed all your videos.
No.
No.
No?
No.
Tell us a little about working with Tim and about some of the other videos you've done.
Well, Tim's just, he's mental.
He's a misfit in the video world, I think. And we get on with him. And before that, we worked with Clive Richardson.
Well, when you work with Tim, does he come up with the concept for the video, or do you all kind of stick your heads together?
It's mainly our ideas, and he comes up with a different kind of... he's really good at editing, and but the main bulk of the ideas are usually ours, and he adapts them into some kind of sense. But we sit through right from the beginning to the very end. We're right there all through the editing.
See the rushes, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
What do you find different about Tim Hope as a video director than other video directors?
He's a complete fool.
He's a crazy imbecile, and
he doesn't take it very seriously. And he dislikes all the things we dislike about video, like, you know, all the storyline and that kind of thing.
Yeah, in the past you said that you were skeptical about videos. Has Tim helped change that point of view?
No, I think it's always been fun doing them because it's such a new medium. I don't think they're a substitute for a good record. I think it's just, well, personally, it's fun to try and get what you imagine from the record, which, you know, you never do. It's like seeing the film of a book. It's always lacking, I think. But I think they're getting better on our part anyway.
Steve, you recently had a written argument with Boy George in the pages of Melody Maker. And you talked about his fake stardom. Do you really feel that hostile towards Boy George?
I was asked to review the singles one week in Melody Maker, and there happened to be a Culture Club single in it, so I just gave my honest opinion, and he seems to enjoy writing back to people for some unknown reason. I mean, surely he can have more dignity than to embarrass himself in public. I just didn't like his record. I still don't like his record. Nothing to do with anything else.
Certainly not serious.
Have you met Boy George face to face?
Of course. Not discussed it, but I knew him from ages ago.
Okay. Fashion-wise, Siouxsie, you seem to be way ahead of your time. Do you feel that's a positive thing? You design your own clothes? Are you setting trends?
I design my clothes or find things. If I start calling it fashion, it's already out of date.
Do you think there's too much emphasis on fashion and look in music today?
No, I think it's important that people have their own look. I don't necessarily think it should be, or the magazines that end up catching on to a look are way behind and someone's moved on anyway.
Where do you get your fashion ideas from?
It's just ideas that I want, just clothes that I want, and they're not in the shop, so I'll draw them and get someone to make them up for me. Simple as that.
I want to ask you a couple of questions about the new album, Hyena. There's a lot of full arrangements on this. Who are the Shandos players?
It's 26 people out of the London Symphony Orchestra, and you can't, if you want to say they're the London Symphony Orchestra, you have to...
You pay 26 times as much.
Yeah. So they call themselves the Shandos players when they work outside of the orchestra.
Mm.
And we just got them in to do, we've done an EP of old songs with string arrangements, and at the end of the session they just played a tune that Sioux had written, and that became Dazzle. So that's the only, they're only on one track on the album.
Well, Hyena seems to be much broader musically than other LPs from Siouxsie and the Banshees. Is there a deliberate move towards a new musical direction for you?
There's never real... I mean, after every album we always make sure that we get that album out of our system, and that we don't want to ever do a part 1, part 2, part 3 of one thing.
I think a lot of the reason it seems broad is because it was written all in the studio, and so therefore you haven't got you walk in a different mood and you write a different kind of song. Whereas if you're working in a rehearsal room, you're very limited. Somebody's got to play guitar, got to play bass, that kind of thing, unless it's so you can build things up using overdubs and stuff in the studio and invent songs as you go along without really working them out, and cut up the tape and all stuff like that.
So you really use the studio as a mechanism to write as well?
Oh yeah.
We did on this album. It's never a formula though. We always work differently for different albums.
I want to ask you about the Creatures. which was something that was a side project. Can you tell us something about the creatures and what's up with that now?
Nothing's up with it now. It was an accident that it happened, and there's no plans, but there never were any plans, so there might be something else.
You had some vocal problems. Are they all cleared up?
Yes, I was informed I had a severe vocal problem from a quack in Sweden. And everyone was panicking until we got back to London. And I saw a throat specialist, and he just said, "You've just been abusing your voice, just been using it too much. Too much work, that's all."
So what lies ahead for Siouxsie and the Banshees? You're finishing a tour up now. What do you look forward to in the next couple of months?
Nothing. Months of nothing unless we want to. There's nothing, we never plan very far ahead.
Yeah, I don't believe it. So many groups know they're going to be playing somewhere in a year's time, or they know what they're doing for the next 2 years. I mean, as I said, we like to keep things fresh, so we restrain ourselves to mapping out the calendar too far ahead. Oh.
Do you have any plans for more videos from the Hyena album?
Maybe if Geffen give us a lot of money. They're very expensive things to do. As for us, anyway.
No, let's do it. How do you feel about the music that's coming out of Britain today? At the moment, big question, but is there a certain direction or certain groups that you feel are...
I think we've always enjoyed music from America more. Things that aren't necessarily popular in America or England, things like Suicide and
Lou Reed
and the Cramps and stuff like that.
or Iggy Pop. I mean, they should be legends here. They should sell out, have platinum records.
Have you heard the new Lou Reed album?
No.
I've heard Suzanne on
Yeah,
the
that's
radio.
good. But
why is it that you tend to go more towards the American music, or is there
Well, I suppose they're not typically American. Otherwise they should have been #1 all the time. I don't suppose we're typically British either.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. We have a couple of testimonials from